This is the end of the beginning. Welcome to today's show. In the past, I've covered the C40. For those of you that aren't familiar with this absolute nightmare, the C40 cities, this is obviously the implementation for smart cities. They call themselves the C40 Cities Climate Leadership Group. Of course, people who are not elected, people who nobody even knows they actually exist, are plotting and planning how to destroy your life and control your life, even though the majority of zombies out there don't realize it's going to actually destroy their lives. And these C40 organization, or this C40 organization, these are the people who are going to be implementing the smart cities. And these are the ways they're going to be doing it. And this is what they're talking about. And this has been going back to 2019. I covered this a couple of years ago when they talked about specific countries that were going to implement these rules that they have. And they want to ban meat, dairy, and private vehicles in these cities. And again, this is the implementation of what is the actual smart cities. And people think, oh, these sound great. These cities are going to be fun. It sounds like a vacation, right? They're looking at it like that. They're so out of their minds. They don't realize that part of these rules and these things that they have, that NATO has, the UN has, if you look at Agenda 2030, if you look at what the C40 Cities Climate Leadership Group is talking about, they're talking about by 2030 having zero dairy consumption, allowing people to have 3 clothing items per person, 0 private vehicles, and 1 short haul return flight every 3 years per person. So you won't be going to visit your mom if she lives across the country. You won't be going to see your dad or see grandma on her deathbed if she lives more than 3 states away. Because a short haul is probably about a 2-hour flight, 1-hour flight. And if you aren't living close enough to your family, you're never going to see them again. Of course, they'll tell you could see them over Zoom because they're conditioning you, and they've been conditioning people to accept doing things over the phone and doing things at a distance from one another, which is part of why they did what they did, to implement technology as being this median in between seeing people. It's the same as seeing somebody through a prison wall, right? Nobody looked at that and said, hey, you have visitation. The guy's sitting between a plexiglass wall in a jumpsuit. Doesn't it sound very similar? Oh, you can't go see grandma, but you could talk to her on Zoom. Oh, and you're going to be wearing one of your 3 new clothing items per year. So you'll be wearing an orange jumpsuit probably. They'll give you the 3 clothing items, right? It's the same exact thing. It's a dystopian goal. It's a dystopian future. And they trick you in the deception of climate. And the cities who are looking to implement this are Austin, Texas, Boston, Chicago, Houston, Los Angeles, Miami, New Orleans, New York City, Philadelphia, Phoenix, Portland, San Francisco, Washington, D.C., and Seattle. Do you see a common theme there? You know what the common theme is? The majority, if not every one of those cities, is systematically being destroyed, right? What do we see in those cities? They're allowing crime, right? And if it isn't a city like New York or Los Angeles or San Francisco where they're allowing crime, it's somewhere like Houston where they're drilling it with weaponized weather, or somewhere like Austin, Texas where they're drilling it, or somewhere like New Orleans where they're drilling it with weaponized weather. Oh, hurricane, destroying the infrastructure, destroying the buildings, running people out of the area so that they could bring in these cities. Because these cities aren't just going to be cities where they say, we're not going to have meat in our city. They're going to be smart cities. These are some videos posted from the C40 on their own website, which I've covered over the years. But take a look at what they're talking about recently.
How resilient are cities? Dealing with compounding crises, a global pandemic, growing inequality, and the climate emergency. Giving up isn't an option. Cities bring the solutions, turning the what-ifs into what's possible, producing more renewable energy than they use. Vulnerable communities having fair input into their development. Clean air for all, no empty promises. Cities are full of doers. Communities of change makers, the go-getters, trendsetters, and future thinkers. Real change starts with us, with you. So what will it take? Put Put simply, prioritizing people and the planet. There is no more room for empty commitments. It's time to turn targets into reality. Sure, progress has been made, but there is still a long way to go. Temperatures are still rising, seas are still rising, but people are rising too, and we are standing with them. Now is the time to harness the power and potential of our cities. Let's build on the momentum and stay united in action.
So, of course, the way that they market this dystopian society, is with a wonder. I've covered this before. You might remember I've done videos. And if you're, at home and you see these commercials, I'm sure any of you, if you ever put the TV on, I know a lot of you say you don't have the TV, but you probably get ads for it too on YouTube videos. For any of these pills, they're like, ask your doctor about this, right? These pills to take about whatever you might have, because nobody's suspicious that there's so many diseases running rampant because of the soft metals they're putting in our food. But if all these diseases that run rampant, right? Look at the commercials for them. They're like, are you suffering from, ED or something like that? And they have this wonderful, nice music in the background. Right there at a park, there's birds flying, they're holding hands, and then there's reading off 95,000 side effects, right? That's mind control, how it works. And they're like, oh, that's really nice. And you don't even realize they're like, side effects may include, and they're like, look, the ocean, dying in your bed, chronic diarrhea for the rest of your life. And they're like, look, the sun's setting, and they're holding hands. That's mind control. And they do the same thing with these dystopian cities. They're like, look, there's plants growing off the city. It looks something out of a zombie apocalypse movie, really. If you ever see some of these clips from these zombie apocalypse movies, like World War Z or something, right? Everything becomes overgrown because everyone's dead. And the cities end up with trees growing in them and plants. I'm sure you've seen pictures of it before. If you ever look up pictures of the apocalypse or you see an article about, the coming apocalypse. Well, they use that. In these videos, they're like, look, the trees are growing out of the side of the cities and the sidewalks are clean and there aren't homeless people there and riffraff or anything bad. There's no crime. Well, people just think, they're like, that's great. That'll be so much fun. I can't wait to live there and I don't even have to pay rent to live there. Yeah, do you have to pay rent to live in jail? No, you don't. So they're under such, massive amounts of mind control. They don't realize that the reason that the cities look the way they do, the reason that these cities specifically are going to ban meat and do all this stuff like Los Angeles, is because first they're going to destroy the city so that they can bring these new rules in and bring in these new infrastructures into the city. So they're allowing crime to run amok, right? And of course, in these smart cities, they're going to market it and say, hey, there's no crime in these cities because everything's got a CCTV and even though we have this technology in place now in all these cities, you couldn't literally commit these crimes unless they wanted you to commit these crimes. These people are on camera. I covered a couple of weeks ago the thing that happened at a Nordstrom's in Los Angeles. Every single person was filmed. They even filmed the getaway car. Nobody got arrested, right? They're going to pretend in these cities like there's going to be no crime because everything will be monitored and there'll be surveillance and they won't have getaway cars. Well, they technically could arrest these people now, but instead, what does the media do? Well, they promote the crime. They're like, you could go to this city and you could rob a bank and they won't care. You could go to San Francisco and they could rob the whole place and nobody will care. So they're promoting people committing crime by telling them they're not going to arrest them. And obviously, they do all this stuff through movies and music by dumbing these kids down into like thinking it's cool and wanting to be a criminal. And then, one of these days, one of these criminals is going to run into the wrong house thinking that it's a convenient or even the wrong convenience store. You've seen some of these videos where the guys at the convenience stores are armed and they're taking care of the problem themselves because they know the police won't do it because the police have been told to stand down, right? But of course, the guy at the convenience store will end up in prison, even though somebody else will go up to him with a gun and they'll be like, it wasn't loaded and he shot him and he should go to jail for the rest of his life for defending his business, defending his own life, right? Because it's all insanity. We're in the upside down. So the C40 city, like I said earlier, no private vehicles, no dairy consumption, no meat consumption, 3 new clothing items per year. I don't know if anybody who's listening, I have never been to prison. I've never been arrested. But if anybody out there, I'm sure some of you have, whatever your story is you don't have to tell that. But does anybody know how many new clothing items, how many times during a year, if you've been in jail for a year, do you get a new jumpsuit? Because I'm sure you got a couple, right? Because you got to wash it in case you shart yourself, in case you smell, right? I would assume, So how many, they probably get more clothing items per year, per person in jail than what they're offering here, 3. Think about that. That's 3 new clothing items. So you could just, you have 3 items in circulation a year? Or are you just supposed to not wash because they'll tell you using the washer will affect the climate, so you shouldn't wash, just like you shouldn't take showers. Sooner or later, they're going to start coming out with more data about how taking a shower every day is bad. They're going to tell you to shower once a month. They'll probably tell you to flush your toilet once a year. They'll be like, no, let it all float and smell in there. It's good for the environment. It's good fertilizer. Right? And these suckers will believe it because they believe anything. We've already seen this stuff. I mean, we're at a point where people are still walking around with masks, and now we're at a point where people are going to be coming back with them, telling us that we need to wear them again, right? These people are under such deep mind control that they will come out and they'll be like, don't shower. These people will be walking around, women will be walking around with hairy armpits and mustaches. And not that they already aren't, but I mean, it's just going to get more insane because they'll do whatever they're told. I mean, really, they will. And they're telling them to castrate themselves and they're doing it. So, don't forget, on top of those things I just mentioned, again, the 3 clothing items, 0 private vehicles, no dairy, no meat, is the short haul return flight. If that's not prison, I don't know what is, because you will not be able to leave, in other words. You don't need to, I use the example of going to visit grandma or your mom or your dad. Okay, let's remove that. How about just going on vacation? Well, do you think prisoners in jail go on vacation? No, they don't. You ever hear oh yeah, Ted Bundy, well, it's August. Bundy's on his 2-week trip to Maui. Or wherever, right? He's on his 2-week, Joe shouldn't use Maui as an example. He's on his 2-week vacation to Greece. Oh, is he? Oh, okay, we'll be back soon. All right, he's in jail. He can't go anywhere. Oh, guess what? You're in jail in a smart city. You can't go anywhere. So the dystopian goals, which are under the future of urban consumption in a 1.5 degrees Celsius world, which you could see over on their website, which is, you could see the document, and then this is what's in the document. These are the things that they, that they want to take care of. Carbon capture and storage, which I just covered, right? So they want to take carbon out of the air again. So when no carbon in the air, like I said in my previous video, okay, so how are plants going to survive? Oh, they're not. Oh, and then don't plants produce oxygen? Oh, yeah, they do. So, we're not going to survive either, right? And then where's all the carbon going to be that they capture? Oh, it's going to be underground. Because they're going to be farming underground, of course, and and all the cattle and stuff will probably be under there too, because there's no way. I mean, look, these people, they probably don't eat too much cattle or chicken because they're too busy eating human. But I guess once in a while they might mix it in so they don't get kuru. These are all things I've talked about in the past. If you don't know what they are, you can join the website, uprisingrevival.com, and start learning about these things, because these people are cannibals as well, if you're not familiar. So they're talking in these plans here. Of course, the trigger terms: electric vehicles, greenhouse gas emissions. These are all things that we hear and people don't realize what they are. And carbon capture. Now, carbon capture, that sounds good. We could, we'll just have a vacuum standing next to a factory and it'll suck all the pollutant out. No. They're talking about actually taking carbon dioxide out of the air. Yeah, carbon dioxide that plants need to survive, and then plants give us oxygen. It all kind of is called photosynthesis. We learned about it in school. Maybe one of the only things in school we learned about that was actually useful. They had to give us a little bit of a taste of truth in school, where they fill the rest of it up with history of lies. But back to the story here with the C40's dystopian goals, which can be found in its Future of Urban Consumption report. It was published in 2019. I covered it back then, and reportedly re-emphasized in 2023, where now they're obviously naming the cities that they have planned. This year, they've named the cities that here in America. Back in 2019, they were talking about other countries, cities in other countries. So obviously, The organization is headed by Michael Bloomberg, right? And Bloomberg loves his bagels. This guy's as low as they come. So these people are all obviously doing this. All politicians are involved in these corporations or these organizations that they pretend are like, oh, they're organizations to help you out. These guys are all crooks and criminals, and they're obsessed with enslaving humanity. So nearly 100 cities across the world make up the organization, and its American members, like I said, we're Austin. Again, I'm going to read them to you. Austin, Boston, no intentional rhyme there. Austin, Boston, Chicago, Houston, LA, Miami, New Orleans, New York, Philly, Phoenix, Portland, San Francisco, Washington, and Seattle. And of course, the common theme there is that the majority of those cities are either being destroyed with allowing crime and allowing people to do drugs in the streets, or of course, they're hitting it with weather. So the C40 cities goals is something that the media obviously has not covered at all. And if you actually look at some of the other stuff they're talking about, like how they're buying up all this land, residential homes and farmlands all over the world are being bought up. And nobody seems to be concerned that they're buying these up to obviously put and implement these smart prison cities in there. That's what they're buying it for. Okay? They're buying it up and they're making sure that farmers aren't able to farm. I mean, this is all obviously something that they've plotted out. They've plotted every single way that they could have full control, knowing what we're going to try to do to fight against this. Right? Well, when they take carbon out of the air, there might be much that anybody could do to fight against it. And these idiots are like, I agree. And then you look into the lockdowns, right? I talked about this when the lockdown started because we had Greta Thunberg. Some of you might remember the videos I did then, but if you don't, I'll just recap, especially for people who are new. The lockdowns were just a precursor for what's to come. Obviously, the imprisonment's going to be a climate agenda imprisonment. And they're going to actually get people to stay inside and lock themselves down for climate lockdowns because the world's going to burn and all the governments will be on board and nobody will be suspicious and be like, wait, didn't you just lock us down for something else? Oh, right. Now they're going to lock us down for this because climate activists are advocating for climate lockdown. So these lunatics actually want to be imprisoned and they want to imprison us. These people are like the fetish from 50 Shades of Grey or whatever. Those like weird, creepy, disgusting movies where they promote that stuff to kids. These people just like to get punched in the face, apparently. Like they like, and they're like, I like pain. No, you're just really, really dumb. And you're trying to, that's the problem that we have going on here is that we're letting these morons enslave us. If it was just about, the left and the right, and I don't like them, they're mean, I couldn't care less. I wouldn't pay any attention to it. But the fact that they're trying to infringe on our rights and our lives, and these people are the dumbest people that have ever existed, who are being empowered by this tyrannical government, which is not, they're doing this by design, pretending to be nice, to the gays and everything else, and they're pretending to be dumb, like, oh yeah, we can't make sentences. They know exactly what they're doing. They're enslaving humanity, and they're hurting stupid people and then giving them power so that they, I did a video on Uprising Revival, which is linked below, which everybody needs to subscribe to because I'm pretty close to getting a strike, I think. Talking about, what the UN's 10 climate goals were. And one of the number one goal on that list, and I was joking about it because that channel I got to joke around, but number one goal on their list is to, spread the information. So in other words, spread the disinformation. So listen to the news and then go out and repeat it. And that's what they want these people to do. So these cities that are being built, they're going to tell you that they're great for the environment. Oh, and they don't realize that, well, wait a minute. All these cities that they want to build, these locations that are being destroyed, all these major cities, like since when in history have politicians, has the news promoted crime? They're promoting it. They're like, it's good. And they're like, it's good because of their skin color. They should be allowed to do it. They're oppressed. And people are just going along with it. It's insanity. But the goal isn't the fact that they just want, they don't want to just give these people free things and stuff like that. They want to cause chaos. They want to roll in new laws, new rules, new technology to make sure that this stuff doesn't happen, that they're allowing to happen by saying, well, the way the whole institution is set up, the way the police are set up, it's all corrupt. It's all wrong. We need a military state. We need cameras in every street corner. We need tracking devices in everybody's pockets or AKA inside their bodies. And people are just like, yeah, now there's no crime anymore. Now we don't have to worry about getting killed. Now we don't have to worry about this. Now we don't have to worry about that. There's thought police too. Yay, welcome to the smart city hell. It's a dystopian nightmare. So these people they're egging it on, they want it. They don't, they're like, we'll have no meat in the city. So what are you going to eat? Oh, well, we're vegetarian and vegan anyway. Oh, yeah, there's not going to be plants either. You're going to be eating soylent meat, which really is, it's people. But they're going to be eating fake items made in a laboratory. And they think that that's nutritious for them because these people will be like, oh, yeah, it's nutritious for you. They believe every word they say. Every word that they say, they believe. And that's why these people out there who support this are part of the problem. They are the problem because they're allowing it and they're pushing it on us worse than the government's pushing it on us. The government is pushing it on us, but we're really dealing with it from people we know in our day-to-day life who are repeating what they say, repeating the lies of the news. And then they're like, hey, well, you can only come over if you wear a mask, or you can only, and you're just like, what? Huh? Are you okay, buddy? I mean, did somebody give you a lobotomy in your sleep? They're like, what? I'm just doing what's the right thing to do, the nice thing to do. You know, we all need to do our part. All these talking points that the CIA gives these people, empowers them, creates narcissists, a society of narcissistic morons who will not, nothing you can say can crack into their thought process, which isn't a thought process. It's an autopilot process where they just repeat everything they hear. So 14 American cities have a target of banning meat, dairy, private vehicles, putting you in a prison jumpsuit that you can only change out of 3 times a year, and of course, limiting where you can fly and travel because you're not going to be going in and out of these places at all. And even if you know, in the beginning, you're allowed to go on a very short trip, like they say, oh, guess what? You'll have like 2 days and you'll have to be home. Not more than that, because your carbon footprint will affect that city or that place, right? Unbelievable how they're getting away with this. A reminder, please subscribe to my other channels now. They're linked below. There's always a chance this gets a strike. And if you haven't checked out the website, please do so, uprisingrevival.com. Not a lot of people over there. They're, you know, it's constantly getting bled out of subs because of what they've done to all my channels, and I'm not able to promote it to the audiences that I've had. But anybody that's new, if you haven't checked it out, I highly recommend you join. Again, you could share all sorts of stuff in the forum. You could share your experiences, what you're feeling. You know, I'm not big on like how you're, you know, feelings, like, oh, my feelings for her. But I mean, like, you know, stuff you're seeing, right? That, you know, or, you know, something that's on your mind as far as, you know, you're thinking what they might do next, those types of things. And of course, you could share all sorts of stuff, articles you're seeing, other videos, other channels that you like. You know, you can make people aware of that, even if you have your own channel, those types of things in the forum. And again, I have exclusive content up over there. A lot of videos, a lot of the times here on YouTube, they won't let me put them up, whether they block the video or they make sure the video is, they put a yellow thing next to the monetization button. What that usually means is I always tell people, don't put it up. Not because you don't get ad revenue, don't put it up because it means that it's a controversial video before you even put it up. So if somebody flags it, they're going to look at it and they're likely going to give you a strike. And that happens a lot with my videos. So I'm able to upload those over on my website. So definitely check out the website. It's troll free. It's $2.99 a month. It's the price of a bottle of water these days. So definitely give it a shot if you haven't. I thank everyone for being here. Hope you're doing well. God bless all of you as always and your families.